A cup of instant coffee can cost as little as 10 cents. A cup brewed from one of the rarest coffee beans on earth can cost more than $100. Both are coffee. Both come from the same plant. And yet people willingly pay 1,000 times more for one than the other. So what exactly are they paying for? Is expensive coffee actually better? Or is it simply another luxury product wrapped in clever marketing? The answer is far more complicated than most people realize. Coffee is the second most traded commodity in the world after crude oil. More than 2 billion cups are consumed every single day. Entire economies depend on it. Millions of farmers rely on it. And despite all of that, most people have never tasted what coffee is actually supposed to taste like. Today, we're breaking down the 7 levels of coffee, from supermarket instant coffee all the way to auction-winning beans that sell for thousands of dollars per kilogram. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where your money is best spent, where the quality truly improves, and where you're simply paying for rarity. But before we start climbing the ladder, you need to understand something. Coffee almost disappeared. In the late 19th century, a fungal disease known as coffee leaf rust spread across plantations throughout Asia. Entire coffee industries collapsed. Sri Lanka was once one of the largest coffee producers in the world. Today it is famous for tea. Coffee literally changed the course of nations. Over the next century, however, demand exploded. Today, coffee is grown in more than 70 countries and has become one of the most valuable agricultural products on Earth. And that brings us to level 1. Level 1, the convenience cup, under $10 per kilogram. This is where most of the world drinks coffee. Instant coffee dominates huge markets across Asia, Eastern Europe, South America, and Africa. Brands like Nescafé, Maxwell House, and Folgers built billion-dollar businesses by making coffee fast, cheap, and accessible. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. Instant coffee was never designed to compete with specialty coffee. It was designed to solve a different problem: convenience. Most instant coffee is made using Robusta beans. Robusta contains nearly twice as much caffeine as Arabica. It's easier to grow, it's more resistant to disease, and it's significantly cheaper. The downside is flavor. Most instant coffees deliver bitterness, roasted nuts, dark chocolate, and sometimes a slightly burnt finish. Complexity isn't the goal. Consistency is. Every cup tastes almost exactly the same. The rule at level 1 is simple. Don't judge coffee culture based on instant coffee. That's like judging the entire wine industry based on the cheapest bottle at a gas station. Level 2. The everyday drinker. $10 to $20 per kilogram. This is where coffee starts becoming enjoyable rather than simply functional. Brands like Starbucks, Lavazza, Illy, Peet's Coffee, and countless regional roasters live here. Most of these coffees are still mass-produced. They're still blended from beans sourced across multiple countries, but the quality improves dramatically. Most rely primarily on Arabica beans. Arabica grows at higher elevations and develops more complex flavors than Robusta. Suddenly you begin noticing caramel, chocolate, vanilla, nuts, maybe even a little fruit. This is also where roasting becomes important. Every company develops its own roast profile. Starbucks leans darker. Illy focuses on balance. Lavazza aims for smoothness. Here's something most people don't know. When Starbucks opened its first store in Seattle in 1971, it didn't even sell prepared coffee. The company only sold beans. Everything changed in the 1980s when Howard Schultz visited Italy. He became fascinated by Italian espresso bars. He saw coffee being treated as an experience rather than a commodity. That idea transformed Starbucks into one of the most successful beverage companies in history. Today, Starbucks operates tens of thousands of stores worldwide and has arguably done more than any company to shape modern coffee culture. The jump from level 1 to level 2 is enormous. Almost anyone can taste the difference. For many people, this is where the journey ends, and that's perfectly fine. But for others, this is where the obsession begins. Level 3, the specialty gateway, $20 to $40 per kilogram. This is where coffee becomes a hobby. Terms like specialty coffee, single origin, processing method, and cupping score start appearing on bags. And for the first time, the farm matters. Coffee is graded on a 100-point scale. Anything scoring above 80 points qualifies as specialty coffee. Most supermarket coffee never reaches that threshold. At this level, you'll find beans from Ethiopia, Colombia, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and Kenya. Instead of tasting generic coffee flavor, you start tasting specific characteristics: blueberry, honey, orange, jasmine, peach. The first time many people try a properly roasted Ethiopian coffee, they don't believe it's coffee. The fruit notes can be so intense that it resembles tea. The specialty coffee movement itself is surprisingly young. The term specialty coffee was first used in 1974 by coffee trader Erna Knudsen. She noticed that certain farms consistently produced extraordinary beans. Until then, coffee was largely treated as a commodity. One sack was considered interchangeable with another. Specialty coffee changed everything. Farmers suddenly had an incentive to pursue quality instead of quantity. At this level, people start buying grinders, scales, pour-over brewers, gooseneck kettles, and spending far too much time watching coffee videos online. If you're finding this helpful, consider subscribing, because now we're entering the levels where coffee becomes truly fascinating. Level 4. The coffee enthusiast. $40 to $80 per kilogram. This is where origin stories begin to matter a lot. At this level, many roasters work directly with farms instead of buying through commodity markets. Traceability becomes important. You know the farm, the altitude, the variety, sometimes even the specific plot where the coffee was grown. This is where famous varieties begin appearing, particularly Geisha from Panama and Ethiopian heirloom varieties. Processing methods also become more experimental. Natural processing, honey processing, anaerobic fermentation, carbonic maceration. Techniques inspired by the wine industry. The results can be extraordinary. A single cup might taste like mango, strawberry jam, tropical fruit, and floral tea all at once. Ethiopia deserves special mention. According to legend, a goat herder named Kaldi noticed his goats becoming unusually energetic after eating berries from a particular tree. Those berries were coffee cherries. Whether the story is true doesn't really matter. Ethiopia remains coffee's birthplace. Thousands of wild coffee varieties still grow there naturally. For many enthusiasts, level 4 is the sweet spot. The quality is exceptional, the prices remain reasonable, and every new bag feels like an adventure. Level 5. Competition coffee. $80 to $200 per kilogram. Now we're entering territory that most coffee drinkers never experience. These coffees are often produced in tiny quantities. Sometimes only a few hundred kilograms exist. Barista competition coffees frequently come from this level. Every step of production becomes more precise. Only perfectly ripe cherries are harvested. Fermentation is carefully monitored. Drying is controlled. Storage is optimized. The goal is simple: create the best cup possible. At this level, tasting notes start sounding ridiculous. Lychee, champagne, rose petals, passion fruit, vanilla cream, and somehow they're often accurate. Here's where many coffee drinkers make a mistake. They assume expensive automatically means better. It doesn't. A $90 coffee may score 92 points. A $30 coffee may score 89. Most people would struggle to tell the difference in a blind tasting. This is where diminishing returns begin. The improvements are real, but they become increasingly expensive. Level 6. Auction winners. $200 to $1,000 per kilogram. Coffee auctions weren't always a thing. In the late 1990s, industry experts created a competition called Cup of Excellence. The goal was simple: reward farmers for producing extraordinary coffee. Thousands of coffees are submitted. Only a handful survive the judging process. The winners are then auctioned to buyers around the world. The results changed the industry forever. Some farmers increased their income tenfold almost overnight. At this level, you're tasting some of the best harvests produced anywhere on Earth. Scores often exceed 90 points, a level very few coffees ever reach. These coffees represent agricultural excellence. Specific farms, specific years, specific harvests, conditions that may never be repeated again. At this stage, you're no longer buying caffeine, you're buying craftsmanship, you're buying history, you're buying one of the finest expressions of coffee that nature and human skill can create together. And finally, level 7, the unicorns. Over $1,000 per kilogram. This is where coffee leaves the world of beverages and enters the world of collectibles. The most famous example is Panama Geisha. Ironically, geisha didn't originate in Panama. Its roots trace back to Ethiopia. Seeds were collected near a mountain called Geisha in the 1930s. Decades later, they arrived in Panama. For years, nobody paid attention to them. Then everything changed. In 2004, a Panamanian farm entered a geisha lot into a competition. Judges were stunned. The coffee shattered records. The industry was transformed overnight. Today, elite geisha lots regularly sell for thousands of dollars per kilogram. Some individual cups cost more than an entire month's coffee budget for the average person. Then there's black ivory coffee, produced using beans digested by elephants, and Kopi Luwak, produced using beans eaten and excreted by civets. Both are famous, both are controversial, and both command extraordinary prices. But here's something most coffee professionals won't tell you. Many would rather drink a fantastic level 4 coffee than some of these ultra-expensive rarities. Because once you reach the top, you're often paying for rarity more than flavor. So where should you actually start? Level 3. That's where the magic begins. Level 4 is where most enthusiasts stay. Level 5 is where special occasions live. Beyond that, you're chasing experiences rather than value. And here's the biggest lesson coffee teaches. The best coffee in the world is rarely the most expensive. The best coffee is the one that makes you excited to brew another cup tomorrow morning. Some people spend years chasing auction-winning beans only to discover they prefer a simple, washed Colombian coffee for a fraction of the price. And that's the beauty of coffee. There is no finish line, no final boss, no perfect cup, only the next cup. And sometimes, that's enough. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.